And what is going on, Spurs Nation? It's your boy Rob from Spurs Film Room, hanging out with Harrison from San Antonio Spurs Talk, Clan from Destin from Clan Spurs Fan, Spurs Clan, and
yes, sir.
all over the place.
Destin, Florida.
What's going on, guys? What's going on, fellas?
What's up, man? What's up?
Dude,
Been an interesting day.
Cold here, very cold.
That's good.
Oh,
It's
really?
good to bring out those old Spurs beanies, man.
Well, I mean, if I'm fine bringing out the beanies in like 70 degrees, I didn't need it to get down to like 30 or 27.
Nothing was better than Beanie Harrison during early COVID. He couldn't cut his hair.
I mean, I'll be honest with you right now. I really do need a haircut, but I just decided to own it, and my head was actually cold this time.
Man, I haven't been to the barbershop in a year. Like,
Dude, me neither. It's weird.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks so bad.
You have to wear a mask and stuff. It's a little weird. It is weird. Everything's weird right now.
Hey, respect to y'all barbers out there, though, because I'm trash at cutting my own hair with it, and all I do is buzz it when I have to. I'm like, man.
Bro, your barber is one of those things as a man. Like, once you find your barber, like, don't ever leave him. Like, once you find the guy or girl who does your head right, never go anywhere else, bro.
There were some pause moments in that little soliloquy there.
I was gonna let him have it.
That's little advice to the.
You find someone who can do the head right in your life,
man or woman. He said man or woman.
Or woman.
Hey, we all accept him here.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, right?
Make sure you have that hair trimmed.
All right, Spurs Nation. Well, thank you for hanging out with us. If you're watching, please hit the like button down below, subscribe to this channel, and hit the notification bell if you're watching on YouTube so you can be notified every time that OOC drops a new episode and some new content. You guys are always going to be the first ones to know about it. So today, guys, if you read the title of the show, we're going to be talking about some of the Spurs media availability, some of the videos from Fox Sports Southwest and Ken's 5. That's kind of where I'm getting a lot of the clips from that I'm looking at. But the Spurs have been doing some interviews over the past few days, the first few days of training camp. So we're going to talk about those. Then we're going to talk a little bit about OOC, give you guys some updates, and then we're going to talk about the playoff schedule as well. I mean, not the playoff schedule, the preseason schedule. But first, let's talk about these interviews, guys. Any of them jump out to you?
For me, it's probably like Patty Mills. I don't buy. I'll start by prefacing. I don't buy into the hype of like the media days so much. I know people are really hyped because he was like, "Oh, you're gonna see Australia Patty released and all that," and yeah, that's great. But I don't much care about like, oh, the release stuff and oh, he's gonna be amazing. To me, what gets me excited is if he's gonna play like he does in Australia, that's gonna say a lot about how our team is going to be run this year, because Patty in Australia plays more of like a floor general role, trying to get people involved, does score. And it's more of like a pick and roll generated offense, which seems like the game's going to run through the guards this year. It's going to be a lot faster. And Aldridge talking about like fitting in and all that kind of stuff kind of shows me that we're going to see more of what we saw in the bubble. Maybe not like winning wise. We don't know. I hope. But mostly just play style, which that's what we wanted, man. So I can't complain there.
Destin, what do you think about first off, before we talk about LA, because I think we all want to talk about LA, right? Because I got a lot to talk about when we talk about LaMarcus Aldridge. But Patty, let's talk about Patty first. What do you think about unleashing Australia Patty and all that?
Oh, man, look, like that's cool. That sounds great. I mean, I thought he always been pretty great, or been Australian Patty, especially at times. Like he's gone on stretches where like he's looked great. It's just that the competition might be just a little higher, I think. And that's why sometimes it looks a little mitigated as far as how he looks on the court. But
yeah.
But Patty Mills, man, I mean, he's gonna be Patty. But at the end of the day, like I'm kind of with Harrison on it. Like when I see a lot of these quotes and stuff that they're saying, it sounds great. And maybe like years ago, I would have been super excited. But I mean, we heard a lot before last season. Maybe that's what's making me just like take a back seat a little bit, because they were hyped last season and obviously it looked terrible. So
Maddie and I were talking about, I don't know if y'all follow Rob Bettis on Twitter. He's more of a Lakers fan, but he is a reporter. And he put up a tweet that was like the top 8 responses on media day from players. And it was like, oh yeah, we have unfinished business was number 1. Number 2 was like, I'm in the best shape of my life. And I was just going down the Spurs interviews. I was like, shit, that's pretty much, we hit all of them there. But that's why I don't buy into media days a lot. But I don't know. It seems like they're motivated.
There is a lot of hype juice like oozing out of this sponge from media day for real. That's like, you know, we put the Spurs sponge in there, we soaked it all up, we squeezed it, and it's definitely a lot of hype coming out. Now when we're talking about Patty, bro, we had Australia, Patty Mills this past season. He was our third best player, was he not? Like statistically, I think all minutes played, shot attempts, like he was third in like everything that mattered, right? So it was just like that's not what we need, you know, like whenever we are requiring that out of Patty Mills, that means that our team was not that good. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like think about all these years past, right? Patty has never had to do that. We all know he could, right? Because we've seen it in FIBA. We've seen what type of, you know, scorer he can be. But in the NBA, it's a different game, and he has his role here in the NBA. And I think when he's in that role, that's when we're at best. You know, when we have Patty Mills coming in, just kind of trying to be an X factor off the bench, great. You know, we don't need him to be our third best player. You know, so that's kind of my take on that. LaMarcus Aldridge, who wants to go first?
As far as LaMarcus Aldridge taking the 3-point shooting more serious,
anything about the interview
him taking I'll talk about the 3-point shooting, and it seems like everybody had something to say about it. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I think yes, he can. LaMarcus Aldridge can shoot threes. I just don't buy that he'll do it. I feel like he's gonna gradually go back into what he does, which is, you know, getting mid-range, fadeaway shots. I just see that as happening. I don't see this whole LaMarcus Aldridge, all he's going to do is take on the Pau Gasol role that, you know, Pau had with us. I don't see it. I just don't see it. I think it's going to be the same thing, you know, that we saw with DeMar DeRozan, where DeMar DeRozan was shooting threes for a minute, and then he kind of went back to what he's used to. I just don't see it. I don't see a vet that late in his career just switching it up, no matter what type of team we have.
Harrison.
Well, yeah, I kind of agree there. I think we'll see like a concerted effort to be a little more consistent with taking more threes. But one thing I want to put out there is I'm not sure as a fan base that it's fair to say they need to do this. Because, I mean, like you look at DeRozan, that's the biggest knock on him a lot is, oh, he can't shoot threes. I'm thinking, well, you know, yeah, it's true. He doesn't really shoot threes, but given the style of basketball that he plays, DeRozan's a lot of size up ball, a lot of taking people off the dribble. You don't see a whole lot of people, you know, pulling up for threes that way. It makes sense that he plays the way he does. And Aldridge is a back-to-basket mid-range kind of guy who likes to create that mid-range shot for himself. So it doesn't really fit with his game. And also, like you said, they've been doing it for years. It's much harder to add something like that when you've been consistently playing the same way for 10 and 12 years. I just don't see it really making much of a difference per se. And I don't necessarily think, oh, they need to add that. I think they need to figure out how their game right now can work with the young guys, even if that means 8 less shots a game for LaMarcus. You know, that's fine as long as he finds his spots and still contributes, you know.
Hey, Rob.
Yeah.
Just real quick. I noticed that you got the music on.
Oh,
but you can hear it probably.
No, I can't. I haven't even brought it into I haven't even started it yet, guys. Yeah, so we're gonna throw some beats on here so we can vibe a little bit, right?
I saw the speaker on there.
Courtesy of this video on YouTube, in case you're
you're watching. Hear it.
No, yeah, there we go. No, yeah, so okay. great points, both of y'all. And let's talk about the 3-point shooting, man, because that's was the question last year and it's the question this year, right? You're right.
Yeah.
But first off, let me start off by saying I understand LaMarcus Aldridge's hesitation to shoot more threes because not only because of what Harrison was saying, like that's just his game. I mean, he's just a dominant. He's like a top 5 dominant player in the way he plays. Like, you know, give me 5 guys in the league who plays like that. He's up there, you know, on the block or the mid range. And I feel like even though the NBA is going away from that type of style, there's still more value in that style. Like if I'm a player, like, oh, so you're saying you just want me to set screens and shoot threes? My stock is going to go down. You're saying that I'm going to get less shots from like my bread and butter spots. My stock is going to go down. You know, you're saying that I think, and this is where I think LaMarcus Aldridge is right for not wanting to shoot him as much as he does everything else on the floor, you know, from all the other spots on the floor. Because it's smart for him. And I think that the Spurs didn't have it in us, had nothing to stand on to tell him to do otherwise. Right? It's because every time we came in to the season, he was like, we asked him, he's like, no, you could go back and look at last year's media day availability. And LaMarcus is like, no, I'm not doing anything new. I'm just doing the same stuff that I always do, you know, just try to get better at it. It's what I do. And he's not wrong, you know, like he's right. But I don't buy it. Like now I'm going to Destin's part of this side, because in the interview from the other day, LaMarcus, right? He starts off by saying, when they ask him about taking more threes, he starts off by saying, first he takes a deep breath, kind of rolls his eyes. He's like, yeah, I support the idea. That's the first thing he says, that he supports the idea.
He's sick of that question.
Yeah, he's like, I support the idea to take more threes, and they've talked to me, and that you know, the game is changing and all that stuff. But let me tell you why he has to budge right now. It's because he's on a contract year. This is the last year of his contract. So things are different now than they were even just a year ago in terms of like what the Spurs can ask of LaMarcus Aldridge. You know what I mean? So there's the whole thing about him supporting the idea. And supposedly he's been working on his 3-point shot since he came off rehab, I should say. Since he's gotten off his rehab, something that he's been doing a lot in the gym has been working on his 3-ball. He did say that.
What does that mean though?
That means that he's been in the gym shooting threes and maybe play like working on a couple other sets, you know, that see, because that's exactly a question. That's a good question, Destin. How are we gonna have him shoot threes? How is he gonna play the 5 or is he gonna play the 4? Is he gonna be a small ball 5, or are they gonna play Jakob and him together where he's gonna be in a double screen? You know, we love to run the double screen up top, right? One guy rolls, one guy pops, right out to the 3-point line. Is LaMarcus going to be that pop guy and he's going to hit that shot? He's going to shoot more of those? Or is he going to be I'm going to catch the ball off 2 or 3 rotations? Because here's where I'm going. Everything we're hearing right now is like, we're going to build off what we did in the bubble. Everybody's saying that. Pop, like DeJounte, Lonnie, Rudy Gay, right? They're all DeMar saying that they're one of the reasons why we came back, right? I know I'm going off on a tangent. I'm sorry. Let me bring it back.
No, you good, dude.
No, you good.
I don't buy it, because tell me why it hadn't happened before. Because he says that he can shoot it. He's always been able to shoot it. And it's not that he can't shoot it.
Yeah,
right?
He can shoot it.
So yeah, and he can. He's right. Yeah. But it was either one or two reasons. It was either one, the team wasn't ready to play in a system that required him to take those shots. Like the team wasn't good enough to not give LaMarcus 20 shots a game. You know, it's like we got to give our second best player or our best player 20 shots a game. You know what I mean? Like the team wasn't there yet, maybe. Or, and this is the one that I'm leaning on, LaMarcus Aldridge just wouldn't allow it.
Exactly. That's the one. He didn't allow. Dude, even if I think back of like when he was asking for a trade, what was he asking a trade for? Like, he wanted the ball more in his hands to do what he does. And yeah, I don't think that he was willing to do it. Yeah. I know some people in the chat said that he needs to budge. I guess. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's not really going to matter. I think going into next season, it's just not going to matter. But honestly, yeah, that's it. He wouldn't do it, and I think it comes to the same thing with DeMar. I think the Spurs wanted DeMar to shoot more threes, and he tried to make an effort. And then he eventually kind of reverted back to what he normally does. But LA, I think that LA just wouldn't do it, and I'm not saying that that's right or wrong. I just think that that's just how LA is. I think that he needs to play his game, and if he's not, his headspace won't be in the game.
Yeah,
if he doesn't have the ball in his hands.
I think it's a bit of both. What you were saying, Rob, and it goes back to the first thing you said was where the Spurs didn't really have a leg to stand on in it because. I think he was resistant at first because, this is my game. This is how I've been affecting. And I think management was in a position where they couldn't say, look, buy in or get out, because look what happened when Kawhi Leonard went down with an injury. Aldridge's style of play carried us to the playoffs. Year after, seamlessly, he goes in with DeRozan. Same type of play gets us to the playoffs. This year, now that the young guys start to kind of sprout up, that's when it starts to become noticeable that maybe it's not fitting anymore. And I think that's why we're starting to see a little change in attitude, is because, like you said, they're finally ready. I'm not sure I buy it either, just because that is his game. I can't fault him for not making it a major change to his game so late in his career. But I think his change in attitude might start coming a little in these media days because of that, because the team's whole style of play has now drastically changed. So I think he knows if he doesn't at least try to make it look like he's buying into that, it's not going to work out. And in his defense, he's a good teammate. So I think, it's part of, hey, I'm here, even if it's not going to happen. So that's just my 2 cents on it.
I don't think it's going to work out if he has to have the ball, or if he takes that back seat role. I don't think LA is that type of player. No. I think that he has to have the ball in his hands. Honestly, I don't even think that that's necessarily a good thing. I actually think it's kind of a bad thing. Because I think back of when he was with Kawhi, honestly, I mean, if you go back to those games, especially that 2017 season, he was not really in it, dude. Like, he wasn't really there to me. It seems like Kawhi Leonard, when he had to have the ball and Kawhi Leonard kind of became the guy, LA took a back seat and he just didn't seem happy. Obviously, hindsight, he asked for a trade after, but at the moment I could tell that LA wasn't really in it. I mean, even if we go back one game in particular that I think I always put a microscope on is the Rockets game where Kawhi had that crazy 3 on Nene and then he had the block on Harden.
Yeah.
After that, LA didn't even fight hard. To me, I don't think he fought hard enough for the rebound, and Kawhi just said, give me that. I think that was kind of the whole season, was like Kawhi taking over, and LA is like not really, just kind of taking the back seat. But I don't know.
Yeah, and why did he ask for a trade? Because we were asking him to change his game. Do y'all remember? Like, that's why he wanted to leave. It wasn't because he didn't get along with his teammates or he didn't get along with the coaching staff or whatever. I mean, I think there was a Kawhi factor in there, a Kawhi fork in there somewhere. But I think the meat and potatoes was all about he didn't want to change what he does. And back then, I don't know what, he was on the 2nd year of his contract or something. And now he's about to be a free agent. So Harrison, this one's for you. Players, like, let's try to list some names that play like let's list some players that play like LaMarcus Aldridge, right? So
it's not many. Occasionally DeMarcus Cousins, maybe Joel Embiid a little bit. I know they're not really comparable, but just kind of back to basket kind of guys. Nikola Jokic, Yusuf Nurkic a little bit, even though he's starting to turn into more of a face up. Hassan Whiteside at times. I mean, there's very few of them out there now.
Jokic is pretty the only one that can shoot maybe the way that he shoots. LaMarcus, also, out of all those guys.
The thing is, Jokic, he can handle and pass really well. I mean, he's an anomaly at that position. And
so we'll take him out of take him out of the equation. What's the market on a mid-range player, LaMarcus Aldridge's age. He's a very high caliber player. Like he's like a silver bullet, you know what I mean, in your holster, right? But how valuable is that silver bullet when vampires have been extinct, you know, for freaking 3,000 years? You know what I'm saying? So what is his market value right now? And I think that the answer to that question, Harrison, is going to tell me why he's more open and supports the idea of shooting more threes this season.
And all the guys
Go ahead.
My bad, Harrison. I was just gonna say all the guys that you mentioned can also shoot threes very well, or pretty consistently. At least tries to make an effort to shoot more threes.
Yeah, well, and like to your point, Rob, there's a market, but there's not a $24 million a year market. And so right now, you know, that, I mean, look at Christian Wood. He's considered a very valuable type center in this league, and he got what, $13 million a year. Granted, it's a prove-it contract for him, but you know, Mariano brings up a good point. Marc Gasol, that's a similar type, in essence. But what he's had to do now is take less money and a big backseat where he plays defense, he rebounds, he gets an occasional bucket. So it's all about curtailing your role in there and kind of doing what you're paid to do rather than trying to still be the all-star you once were. And I think he's capable of doing so. I don't know if he's capable of doing so on the Spurs because, like we said, our gameplay is evolving a little bit away from what he likes. But, you know, we talked about that whole Warriors trade scenario. I mean, I think he fits on a team like that with a lot of, you know, younger guys and experienced vets. I mean, I think he even fits somewhere like the Raptors, who are just looking for a bench guy who can come in. So, yeah, there's a market, but it's going to take some revamping and kind of coming back into himself to do it. But, you know, LA's a smart guy and a good player. He can do it.
Yeah. And I know, and no, I was just saying that I totally agree with the whole, like, what you said, Rob, like how much money that you have to spend on LA. But I see LA honestly just leaving the Spurs and then going to the Trailblazers. But the fact that no one really made a good enough offer for LA speaks volumes, because it looked like we actually were making an effort to try to trade him.
Yeah, so that's like the other part to the equation, right? Is like, okay, how much is he worth? But then it's like, okay, well, the other part is, well, who wants that? You know, how many other teams in the league are willing to acquire a player like him? Like that alone is a hurdle, right? Like it seems to be Portland. They took on Carmelo. I'm pretty sure that they wouldn't mind swapping out Carmelo for LaMarcus Aldridge next season. Like you said, Destin, he probably just walks back to Portland. And I think that's kind of that's not out of the realm of possibility. So, but I mean, you know, kind of getting away from the 3-point shot, he seemed to he knows that he's not gonna make any waves. I think that he's cool with just like Harrison said, playing low key, just saying the right things and not trying to ruin his stock anymore with his attitude or maybe with his words. But all right, let's move off LA for a little while. Anyone else, guys? Before
M Easy called me out. He said, "Yo, LA blocked Nene under the basket. What are you talking about?" I was like, I'm stupid. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I didn't talk about the block.
Hey,
so one thing I wanted to bring up, I can't remember right away who it was, but we got two guys who are supposed to miss some time during
a few. We had 3 guys.
Yeah. So to me, I think we're going to get to see our new rookies in the preseason some here.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Pop interview, since I think that's where it came out of. You know, something that I took away from the Pop, you know, interview, not just talking about the style of play. He talked a lot about Trump. You know, he talked a lot about that.
Yeah, he did.
But I like what he said about Trey Lyles and how he said that, you know, the first thing he said about Trey was that he's capable of being like a really, really good player, but it's all about confidence with that guy. And they started showing it a little bit later on in the season, right? Like we talked about that plenty when LaMarcus went out, when Jakob went out, Trey Lyles went nuts for a little while, for about 6 games, 7 games. And it's like, yeah, he can be like a very high caliber player in this new style of offense. And I just like that, because I think that he's going to be one of those guys that we're undervaluing right now, and who's going to be coming up huge in this season. I think Pop knows it too.
Yeah, and like obviously we all hate what happened with Marcus Morris, but I'm thinking, hey, that happened, and I think we got a really good guy who seems like he likes San Antonio. He's improving a lot. He's young, a lot of potential, and he seems to want to stay here.
Yeah.
Like I don't think Morris would have been that kind of thing. It would have been, 1 year and 2 years done. And I think, we're looking at Trey for at least the next few seasons. But I think it made me really excited because Pop started giving a little insight into the type of play we're going to be seeing. And that also excites me a little bit with LaMarcus Aldridge, because this is where I think his mid-range game could fit with ours. Seems like they're going to run a lot more pick and rolls this year, having Murray, White, even Lonnie handle the ball and initiate sometimes. So Trey, Jakob, and LaMarcus are going to be heavily involved in getting them, out into the lanes and looking for shooters and rollers and all that. So it's going to be fast and fluid basketball we're seeing. Obviously going to be sloppy at times. It happens. But I think it's going to be like the bubble where, it went from just watching one ISO player to having trouble finding where the ball went because we were passing it so much, which is pretty fun.
Yeah.
What do you guys think Pop meant when he said that it's going to be like the practices are different? I was kind of confused by what he meant by that, because he said that it's a different, because everyone kept saying that he was saying that everything's going to change, everything is different now. But what I heard was that it's a different approach to the young guys in practice. I didn't know what that meant. What was he?
Yeah, he started talking about teaching like holistically, I think, and he started talking about how they used to do a lot of teaching through like 2-on-2 drills, 3-on-3 drills, right, and things like that. And he's like, well, something that's different this time is that he's letting them just like go a lot of 5-on-5, like they're teaching each other, like they're teaching on the fly. They're kind of, instead of, it's because guys, like, when I can tell you from my experience, right? I'll just tell everyone who's watching, I've coached for many years, but what you do as a whole in practice, you like drill and kill every little section of what you do as a whole, right? And then in a game, 5-on-5 drills, you build it, right? You start off, working on, your closeouts, and then your help side, and then you put it all together and you're one hell of a defender, whatever. But I think that's just kind of what he was saying, that it's a more laid back approach. And I think the reason why he said that also was because we we have basically the same team. It's like we're bringing back pretty much the same guys and especially that we're in the bubble. So they're talking about like all those guys are back. Like, and I think because of that, they don't have to maybe micromanage, and they're not gonna micromanage so much this season because of the situation of just, the nature of COVID and the NBA and the schedule and all that stuff. But because of the fact that everyone's familiar with what's going on, it's more about like LaMarcus adjusting, and that's pretty much it, right? Isn't that? I don't know.
Yeah. I guess it has to do with like you said, they're all back and all that, but maybe he did realize that their defensive IQ is pretty high. Like especially Keldon. I bet you Keldon had a lot to do with Popovich taking this approach. I bet you not making the playoffs was a big part of it, where he realized he needed to change some things up. But I bet you Keldon made a big it changed Pop's perspective maybe on rookies or letting the young guys play, because once he played, oftentimes he looked like the best defender on the court, sometimes the best player on the court. So maybe he finally just took a back seat to that. I also want to address something, because quite a few people in the chat are saying that that I'm wrong, that White is better than Murray, and I have to say that White is better than Murray, and they keep saying that Murray's better than White, but I don't know. I think White's better, but hey,
let's just let them prove it on the court. You know what? But that's a good
thing I wanted to say about the practice is I think also too, this is where we see Pop adapt a little more, because it's just like the first time in obviously like 23 years we have so many people on our roster who haven't played together with each other as long as our big three did. And it was easy to bring in new people and incorporate them when they saw how these people who had played together for 10 years did it. but the most anybody has played with each other with the Spurs on this team is 3 years now, and that's Murray and Patty. They've played 3 years together, and that's it. So especially like with new rookies who are set to like come in and make an immediate impact and all that, I think it really helps getting them out there with the other 4 guys on the court and just seeing how everything flows and actually playing together instead of just drilling with a trainer or one other guy. Because you got to get everybody on the same page fast in this short off season and hope for a better outcome. So that's kind of how I saw it there, was just getting people much more used to playing with each other so we can build that cohesive unit.
I like how Pop said this a few times, and you said it, Destin, is like, I don't remember us making the playoffs last year, and there was a couple other guys who said the same thing. But to hear it from Pop and him talking about, we didn't make the playoffs last year, we're gonna change it up, like that. Is like that hype stuff, that we're talking about in the beginning of the episode, where it's like, man, there's a lot of hype coming out of this media day stuff. It's like we're changing stuff up, everything's new, it's small ball, it's the way we played in the bubble, we're gonna build off that. And I think it's true. It's just it's gonna be interesting to see the lineups that involve our big men, right? Because like Jakob started in the bubble, right? Okay, wait, before I start going off on another tangent, anything else on Pop before we move on?
I love Pop.
Love him. Last thing I'll say on Pop is that I think that's what made me most excited, is because Pop's like the least hype person in the world. You could give that dude everything he wanted in life and he'd just say thank you and that's it, which is cool. But the fact that he said that, it kind of ensures, it's going to happen. It's not just people talking to get people interested.
Last year it was everybody saying we should, right? We should play the small guys. We should. What are they doing? What are the coaches doing? It was Tim Duncan's fault. I tell you, it was Timmy's fault. As soon as he stepped away, everything changed. I'm just joking. But what were you gonna say, Dustin?
No, I was going to say, I think us not making the playoffs is probably the best possible thing that could have happened.
To these young guys. So like a guy like DeJounte in particular.
I think to our franchise, period. I think that they kind of got complacent with just trying to make the playoffs. Like, just try to get in the playoffs. We got to get in the playoffs. Because honestly, like there was even times in the playoffs, you think about Game 7, where certain people were sitting down where it's like, well, why are we doing this? And it just seems like we were just having lineups that were good enough, and we weren't taking enough chances. So I think us losing is actually probably the best case scenario.
Definitely stirred the pot. Last thing on Pop, in case everyone watching, the thousands watching us right now, the thousands and the millions watching around the world. Argentina, what's up?
A lot.
Pop can rap. If you never heard him rap, go to Destin's channel, and that's
dude. Pop Smoke. You ever heard of him?
Pop Smoke.
Okay, DeMar DeRozan. The one I'll go first. I'll go first. There's one quote that I liked out of the whole interview. He said a lot of good things, but what I liked is that when he said that he's going to take it upon himself this next season to make sure that the Spurs are not in the same situation as they were going into the bubble, where it was like a must win every game down the stretch and all this stuff. Like, so to me, that just, that tells me the mindset of DeMar, and that he's really, really like owned it. He's owning these like young guys right here. Like he's owning these teams. He's like, you know what? It's like, these are my guys. I'm a Spur. Like, cause I always kind of felt he had 1 foot in, 1 foot out. But then but then after this bubble, after what happened in the bubble, and I'm telling you, man, LaMarcus Aldridge not being there was huge. It was a big factor in that. But that's why it's like, I don't know how it's going to work out. Anyways, I'm going off a tangent again. That mindset tells me a lot about DeMar DeRozan. That gets me very excited for him, not just this season, but kind of hoping he sticks around even after that.
Yeah, I think he will. I just don't really see him going anywhere, honestly. I don't know. He just doesn't seem like that type. Like he seems like he's kind of complacent being with the Spurs. The quote that at least the Spurs official media put out is, he said, "I don't care if people count us out. When I walk in the gym with those guys, we all know what we're capable of. I hate quotes like that, man. Because like, what are you capable of? Like, say it. Like I listen to people like Giannis, or I see other guys that like really want a championship, and they'll just say it. I want a championship. We're capable of winning a championship. We want a championship. And it seems like there is always like this little like what we're capable of. We can do big things. We can be great. It's like, what are we saying? Like, just say it. If you want a championship,
it just means
like,
the playoffs. Yeah,
we're good enough to make the playoffs. We're good enough to get kicked out of the first round. Like, say what you want. And it pisses me off because I'm getting tired of hearing
feeling on yourself. God damn it,
dude. I'm tired of hearing these generic like answers. I'm tired of it. Like, I don't want to hear what you're capable of. What are you capable of? What are we capable of? Say it. Like, I feel like maybe DeJounte Murray might say it. You know, he said that, you know, I want a championship, or I want, you know, he said, I don't want to be in the same, you know, I can't expect to just be like Manu, Tony, and Timmy just because I'm playing. You know, I know that it's going to take work to try to get a championship. He's verbally said it before, but this whole thing where it's like, we know what we're capable of. Like, what are we capable of? Like having a good season and then going home?
That me too, because I'm like, every team in the NBA is capable of winning a championship. They just don't.
Yeah, every team is capable of looking decent and making the playoffs. Like, what are we talking about? Like, let's talk about championships. Let's talk about where we want to be. Like, I hate that mindset, dude. Just,
you know what it is. You know, like what they're talking about. They're talking about just being competitive, bro, and that's the sad part. Isn't that what he means? Like, dude, by what we did in the bubble, we saw what we're capable of. What, being competitive and actually like having a shot to win a basketball game? Because that's all that happened. We didn't go undefeated in the bubble. We lost like 3 games, and like like even playing the way we played, and like yes, like I understand. Like Rudy Gay said it too, and we can talk about Rudy in a little while, but Rudy Gay just said it as well. It's like. We took those 8 games as like a preseason to this next season. It's kind of what he was saying. So like that style, playing in that style, and learning it, and the defensive putting in. And suppose here's another thing is that Pop was saying in the bubble, all the vets bought into defense, and it's like what? So that none of the vets had bought into defense before the bubble. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of that, and so that's why I think just being competitive is like what we're capable of. But hey, man, being competitive isn't a bad thing. I wish we have not been competitive for the past 2 seasons.
Me and Ruru been arguing all day today. She said, no, he don't have to say shit. They gonna show and prove. Words don't mean shit without action. There's neither. Ruru, there's neither. There's neither words or action. No, there's neither. So you might as well do one or the other. Like, wait, what is this?
Tickets. We got Ruru versus Clan right before Jake Paul versus or Logan Paul versus
dude.
No, I mean that right there is like exactly why I hate listening to interviews, because like I'm with both of y'all. I hate that stuff. Like, yeah, he doesn't have to say anything, but it's just like it's all this kind of meaningless stuff, right? Like generic stuff that people have formulated because they have to talk to the media, but they're kind of sick of it. So I'm just kind of looking for like ways that they're going to play it. It seems like from DeMar, he's at least looking at, okay, how can I help these guys grow while playing instead of just trying to win by myself, which is good.
Yeah. See, and LaMarcus, I'm sorry that we always tie everything back to LaMarcus, right? Any quote that Patty Mills said, LaMarcus or Rudy Gay said, whatever ties back into LaMarcus Aldridge.
It's low-key his team, so kind of.
Yes, and see, and that's the thing. I don't feel, look, LaMarcus all his life, give him, like to his credit, all his life has been the guy that teams draw up set plays for. Like, okay, we're going to screen down here. This guy, the screener's going to go get LaMarcus Aldridge open and bring him to a spot, to his block or the high post, right? We're running some type of action to get him to a spot so we can get him the ball. And something that a lot of the guys also said in these interviews was that it was a lot more free, right? It was free flowing. We were playing faster. Everybody got it to touch the ball. It can be his night one night, his night the other night, his night the other night. That's what DeJounte said like 3 times in his interview, saying that that there's a lot less structure. Well, what they mean by less structure is an offense. Like, if you've seen my motion offense video, the film room that I did on Spurs Film Room on my YouTube channel, there's like just a few basic principles. It's just catch, rip, get to the paint, kick out to someone who's open. When you catch it, don't hold the ball, either shoot it and get right back to the paint, right? And it's just like, dude, that was it. It wasn't like get LaMarcus the ball 20 times in the spots where those 4 spots, you know what I mean? And that's kind of like, and it's okay to do that when you have that player, right? Like when we have Kawhi, what do you think they do with Kawhi? That's all they do with Kawhi, just get him the ball wherever he wants it, right? But in this offense where it's more free flowing, you know, to me, that just means, look, DeJounte said it in the beginning of his interview too. I don't know, we can talk about DeJounte too a little bit. I wrote it down here because it was interesting to me. So I actually wrote it down. I have notes.
Okay.
DeJounte Murray said a few things. He said, when everybody touches the ball, it leads to a higher defensive effort. First, he said that. Okay, first. Saying that playing in the bubble in that style led to a higher effort on the defensive side of the floor, which is fine. Look, at the high school level, you can get mad at players for not giving their effort on the defensive end. They need to give it 110% all the time. But when you're in the pros, bro, and it's about your paycheck, it's like, nah, bro, he doesn't want to get, I don't never touch the ball. How am I supposed to get another paycheck? And I'm supposed to go bust my ass? Like, that's why those specialists are very important, like Danny Green or someone like that, who doesn't have that gauge. You know, he's just going and all the time. Anyways, there was that. But then he goes on to say, we don't deserve any national TV games. I like that as well, saying we got to earn them. The word that he said many times was together. He said that word together maybe like 7-8 times in his interview. But this is what he said about LaMarcus Aldridge. Back to that point. As long as he is willing to get on board with us and ready to continue what we did during the bubble, we'll be fine. That's DeJounte. And going back to whoever's been the leader, whoever's been talking the hype, but not, I mean, DeJounte every year is like, hey, I want a championship. I know I've heard it since DeJounte's rookie season that he wants a championship. Like I remember, I know that for a fact. But he's the only one, and then he doesn't have the opportunity to prove it. Like Ruru says, he's gonna prove it. Well, now, you know, he's gonna have the opportunity. But back to LaMarcus Aldridge, the quote on him. I think everybody's on one boat right now who was in the bubble, and LaMarcus Aldridge is like on this other island. You know what I mean? Like over here, and they're like sending smoke signals, like, "Hey, you coming or not?" And he's like,
He's like, well, I'm already kind of out the door anyway. Look, I think when it comes to DeMar DeRozan, I think DeMar DeRozan has proven, okay, he has proven through the bubble or maybe a few other games during the season that he can take a back seat and still be super effective. He can take a back seat and you can still rely on him in the fourth. LA has not shown that yet. LA hasn't shown that he can take a back seat and then you can rely on him late in the game or when you need him. He's the type of player that it seems like he just needs the ball early and often. Like, I haven't seen an LA be hyper effective and not be the main ball handler. And I don't think him being the main ball handler, even if he's the best player on the team, which I would argue that he is maybe close to DeMar, like 1A, 1B. But even him being the best player on the team, that doesn't necessarily mean you're the most effective with the ball in your hands all the time. And I think that we will be much better if he did take a back seat, even as talented as he is. I think we will be much more effective when we have multiple people we can hit you with rather than just, okay, let's just stop our whole offense and give it to LA in the post.
I never finish my original thought. I know I do all the time. I'll go off on original thought. I'll go on tangent. And I'll remember my original thought like 2 minutes later.
I thought you were about to tell me I didn't stop talking. I wasn't done talking. I was like, damn.
No, because you made me remember with your point.
No, I ain't finished.
It's like, I'm not finished.
To your point, Destin, I was gonna say, since all his life he's been the guy that. Oh no, I did say that. Teams draw up plays for him, right? So it's hard. I don't think he's ever done that in his career. Been a guy that needs to pass the ball. You know, like that's just never been his deal.
Yeah. Literally since he was like 19 years old.
Yeah.
I'll say,
all his life.
I'll say, like, we can harp on LA, but like, I'm gonna give him a chance. Same as Trey Lyles. He wasn't in the bubble. So I got to see what he's going to do this season. But I think
he'll be fine.
given, I mean, our offense is geared towards getting young guards involved because that's what we have.
Mhm.
And it's going to be nice because now we have a young forward in the mix too with this draft. And, we got a young center who can rebound, block, all that kind of stuff. I don't care what y'all say about Duncan. I don't really care how much Jakob dunks the ball as long as he gets the bucket. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how we use both of them. And who knows, maybe he'll become like a great pick and roll guy and all that. But yeah, it's easy to be skeptical just because, and not that like he's a bad guy for it or he's a bad player. It's just, it's tough. It's like working at a job for 20 years and then going to a new job and you got to start over. And it's the same thing, but you got to play a different role in the company. I mean, that's pretty much what he's going through right now, and it's rough. So we'll see what we can do.
I disagree with that. I don't think it's that big of a jump. I mean, they're asking him just to lower his. To me, I don't know. I mean, I could be just being a jerk. I think that they're basically saying, lower your ego, take a back seat. We need you to shoot more threes, just screens and threes. He's done threes and screens his whole career. Like, he can do that. Like, it's not like we're asking him, now we need you to run point guard. Like, no, they're just asking him to take a back seat. But I think mentally he can't do it. I think mentally it's like something about him doing that where he just takes himself out of the game.
Yeah.
But it's like a retired person. Like if you retire from being a CEO of a company, but then you still want to do something, and then it's like you start working somewhere else and you're the low man on the totem pole. Like it's a rough mental change there.
Is it the same job in the same company?
Yeah, like if it's something like that, I say different companies because he moved from Portland to San Antonio. But it's like if you were, I don't know, a manager at a store, and all of a sudden, they asked you to start curtailing your hours, and they promoted somebody who you had been like managing to be your boss, where like he's taking a backseat to the young guys. It's not really all that similar. I'm trying to come up with like
what they're asking him to do is stop having a harder job and get an easier job, and he's like, no, I can't do that because I'm LA.
No, but he's like, that harder job pays more.
He's getting paid the same amount. Are you saying for like next season?
Yeah,
like,
because it's a contract year. Because it's so he's like, dude, but then here's this too. Gordon Hayward goes out and gets a mad freaking contract. I know that's a different position. Like at the forward position is a different ball game, the small forward, whatever. But I mean, if he takes a step back in his numbers, let's say like this year he has career low in all of his stats. You know what I mean? But we get to the Western Conference Finals. Doesn't that help his value? Like next year in the open market?
I'm a Spurs fan, Rob. I don't care about LA's future. Look, you play for the Spurs. They're asking you to do something. Do it. Like, what is this?
Well, tell that to James Harden right now. Jeez,
that's why James Harden's a loser.
I
know.
See the one pop quote that everybody is like. He said something. They're asking about Trump. He was like, well, I think everything's going to be fine, but we're just hope he doesn't burn the whole place down when he leaves. And someone quoted it was like James Harden in Houston. I was like, yo, that's perfect.
That is so good, dude.
I will say this about LA. At least he's actually at training camp and he's not at some strip club, just like that's like minding his own business.
Dude,
that's
for real.
True. I like LA. I like him. I like LA.
Yes. I mean, guys, like here's the flip side to this whole coin of this whole show that we've been kind of dogging LA about all this. If he comes in and does it fantastically, like imagine how good, because the whole thing is him not wanting to do it, right? He doesn't want to do it. Okay, well, imagine if he wanted to do it. Like imagine if he starts shooting fucking 2 feet behind the 3-point line and just fucking knocks him down in transition like no one's business. Like you know what I mean? Because he's a superstar. Like he's an all-star like type guy. Like he's capable of changing his game. The best do,
And David in the chat, he said, it's not lame, dude. It's life. Well, if you're working at a company, let's just say it's life. Okay. You say it's your job, David, and your boss, or maybe you are the boss. I don't know. But your boss says, hey, I need you to take on a lesser role. I need you to do something else. Instead of stalking everything, I need you to be the cashier or something. Are you going to say, no, this is what I'm good at. This is what I do. Or are you just going to do it? Because that's my thing with LA. It's like they're asking him to do this. Just do it. I don't see this whole like, well, we got to look at it from LA's perspective. The whole team is on board with it.
Yeah, just the whole team's on board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everyone's on board with it. Just do
it. That's what DeJounte was saying. Is like he needs to get on board with us, and we'll be fine.
And I guarantee you they got a chip on their shoulder after the bubble when he wasn't there. I mean, it's not his fault, obviously, but when he wasn't, well, no, it kind of what, didn't he take the surgery like at a weird time or something?
No, it wasn't his fault.
Surgery.
Oh, okay.
He started getting surgery right when they suspended the season. They're like, there's probably not going to be anything. Yeah, so
okay.
He kind of got screwed over by that. But
yeah, he talked about his injury too for a while. That was interesting too. He was saying that he was like rehabbing it, but it never got better. So there was no timetable for the NBA to come back yet. So they were just like, well, if it's not getting better, let's just fix it. And then it just so happened that we ended up going back and playing in the bubble and all that stuff. So
I hate that. I wish he had been able to play, because I think that would have given all of us a lot of peace of mind coming into the season if we knew, hey, what are we getting into? Same with Trey Lyles. I wish he'd been able to play, because it would have been nice to see like, what he can do in that system. But I mean, hey, I guess that's what the first part of this season is going to be about.
Here, real quick, before we keep going, we're going to wrap up the show here at about 15 minutes or so. But before we go, if you're watching, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, right? We're trying to grow, and we're so excited. We've been growing. We've been in the past month, we've had like 130 new subscribers on YouTube alone, right? Or something like that. So thank you, Spurs Nation, for subscribing and hanging out with us and watching us. We really appreciate you guys. We have so much more coming for you. Matter of fact, this type of format show, guys, where we're just kind of hanging out and, shooting the shit, talking Spurs, this is going to be our new podcast show, right? So make sure that you go and follow our podcast on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast jam on. Guys, we're going to be there. Just look up Order on the Court, and we're going to have a weekly podcast that's more of this long form type content for you guys. We love to just come out here and shoot the shit with you guys and, all that stuff. But starting next week, we have a brand new OOC Live. If you tuned in last week, we talked about it. It's a whole new thing, right? So we are very excited. We've been preparing for a while. We've been, practicing, rehearsing behind the scenes. We're very excited for next week and for the rest of, as long as you guys enjoy the show, we'll keep bringing it to you guys. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Make sure to subscribe to not just OOC, but our individual channels as well. Go to Facebook and subscribe to Harrison's channel, San Antonio Spurs Talk, YouTube, Clan the Spurs Fan, and you can find my work on YouTube as well at Spurs Film Room. So that being said, Lonnie Walker trained with Drew Holiday. Y'all catch that?
Yeah, I saw that.
That's interesting. I didn't know about that.
What do you think?
Man, that's a good guy to train with. I didn't see Drew Holiday being part of the equation before.
Yeah.
Just because, it makes sense when DeMar and Kawhi Leonard would say, yeah, we worked out with Kobe. I'm like, okay, that makes kind of sense. Their games are a little similar. I never would have made the comparison between DeJounte and Drew Holiday, but Drew Holiday's got a lot of knowledge to pass on. So
Lonnie,
I'll take it.
Yeah, Lonnie said that when he was a kid, he met him. I think that's why he did it. That when he was in Pennsylvania, when Drew Holiday was on the 76ers, way back in the day, that he met him once and now, he's in the same league with him. So he must have hit him up and that's probably someone that he just really respects and stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool because dude, Drew Holiday is top 5 defenders in the league at the guard position. You know what I'm saying? So Lonnie has never compared himself to anybody. I don't know if you've ever noticed that. Since his rookie year, he's always just said that I am Lonnie Walker. There ain't no one I don't want to compare myself to nobody because I'm who I am. He's always had that attitude. So and his game is kind of like that too, right? Because it's kind of man, we really don't know what he is. Is he a slasher? Is he a shooter? Is he an in-between guy? What is he? We don't really know. We know he's has the potential to be great at all those things, but what is he? And he finally kind of compared himself to someone in this interview, which was Drew Holiday. And I thought that was interesting that he's just I want to be a two-way guy. I want to be a guy who's great on both ends of the floor. Right. And that's just something that kind of popped up to me.
Drew Holiday is one of my favorite players in the league, period. I love the way he approached the game. He's a good playmaker. You can count on him every game. Good defender. Yeah, it's like a match made in heaven. And a very mature guy. He's not involved in a lot of scandals or I think that's the perfect guy for Lonnie to,
Yeah.
learn from. I didn't know that he like looked up to him though. I never knew that.
Like never requested a trade or anything dumb like that,
Mhm.
So that's true.
Yeah.
Anything else from Lonnie's interview or any of the other interviews?
Nah, they all start to run together after a while.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just, Devin Vassell came out the other day and it was just basic rookie stuff. He's like, I'm excited and I'm learning a lot. And, when they asked him what was the biggest thing right now that he's learning that he's having difficulty with, and he just kind of said, just the game, like the NBA game, there's the differences, between college and NBA, the rules and all that stuff. So he's just, so it's a huge difference, but he's gonna be just fine, guys. This freaking guy is gonna ball for us, man. I cannot wait. Any last thoughts, guys, before we go?
I think Lonnie Walker is going to be the guy. I do have one question, which I'm sure you guys don't even want to answer, but yeah, who's better, White or DJ?
Harrison, you want to go first?
Bryn Forbes. You know me. I don't ever do that kind of crap. I like situational stuff. If I want my offense to run really smoothly, I think White's the better player. If I want kind of a run and gun style with a lot of defense, jumping passing lanes, I think DJ is my player. I mean, I like both of them a whole lot. I like them on the floor together. I can't really choose, to be honest.
You only get one.
Okay, so
if I only get one, I'll take Derek just because he's cheaper and I can put another player next to him.
Derek White is better.
He's a cheaper contract.
I want to hear that.
Well, here's my thing, man. With Murray, everyone always questions who the leader is on the Spurs. No one knows who it is. It's Murray. It is Murray. And he's not our best player in any regard, but he's our leader in the locker room, on the court. So that's what I love about Murray. But when it comes to on the court stuff, at the point guard position, like you said, Harrison, White's the better point guard. I don't mind saying that. I don't want to say either or is better player than the other, because they're both valuable, like in crazy ways and in different polar opposite ways. But White to me is the better point guard, the way he runs the show, the way he can find open players, the way he doesn't force the issue, the way he's just so head savvy with the ball in his hand. I trust that we can win any game where the ball is in his hand. And I don't feel the same way in DeJounte in that fact. Not necessarily that's a knock on him, but just I'm a point guard myself. I love point guards: Jason Kidd, Magic Johnson, Tony P, Steve Francis, whatever. We'll go down the list. But at the point position, I think it's Derek. Now let me follow up that question with another question. Next week on our first OOC live show, we're going to talk about starting lineups. That's the mailbag question from David Corley on Instagram, in case you're watching. But is a LaMarcus Jakob, Derek DeJounte, DeMar the lineup that we're probably what do you think the odds? I'll put the line at 60%. Okay, so over under, right? On like maybe not opening night because of injuries, right, and stuff like that, but maybe the lineup that they're looking at, do you think that's the one that's going to be, or is either DeJounte or Derek coming off the bench and or LA and Jakob?
I guess I'll start. I think DJ and Derek are going to come off the bench. It's really tough because there's a big difference between last season and this season, because now it's like Eubanks is a sure thing, so it's not one of those things where he may or may not play. More than likely he's going to play. That's a tough one. I'm assuming that they'll still try to go small somehow. And with that, I would say DJ Derek starts and Jakob still comes off the bench, and LA at 5, and then Trey Lyles at 4, and then DeMar DeRozan at 3. I think that's what it would look like.
What do you think, Harrison?
Yeah, I mean, I think it probably ends up like that. I honestly, as much as we just talked about DJ and White, what would you think if Pop just out of nowhere put Patty Mills in the starting lineup and saw what he could do? That would be interesting. I don't think it'll happen, but I also wouldn't mind. I mean, I'd like to see both DJ and White play together, but I also really like when Lonnie plays with Derek. They really mesh off each other really well.
Yeah.
So, one of those two variations of the guards, and I think our front court looks kind of the same there to start.
So if we're gonna go with LaMarcus at the 5, because that's really the question, right? It's like, okay, well, LaMarcus gonna shoot more threes from the 4 or from the 5 or the 5?
I think he'll probably play 4, and I'd say probably Trey at the 5. That seems to be what they did, and for what it's worth, it worked pretty well with that whole rotating post look, because Trey's a much better at getting out to that 3-point line and kind of playing out there.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't think about that. I haven't thought about that at all.
Trey's gonna shoot a lot of threes.
Trey's gonna be crucial, bro. My like dark horses for this whole season are Trey and Luka. Like, dude, Trey and Luka are our 2 best shooters, probably outside of, I don't know, who's our best 3-point shooter right now?
Out of everybody,
probably Mills.
Okay, so Mills. And then who?
Vassell, if he comes out and plays.
He hasn't shot one NBA 3, Harrison. How can we say he's better than like Rudy Gay?
I think he's going to end up being one of the best. I think
maybe.
Okay, if you're going by minutes, I think it's probably Derek as our second, because we don't have Forbes and Bellinelli. Obviously, people look at last season.
Okay, so Patty,
are you saying guards? Are you saying guards?
No, the whole team.
I would say Patty and then Trey. That's where I would go with.
Right. I mean, Trey. Derek, you're right. Derek showed us something in the bubble. So if that continues, then he'll be like up there. But no, dude, Trey Lyles, Luka are going to be huge in the 3-point category for us this season. Okay. Yeah, no, I think that's a good take. I think I'm with you, Destin. I think that you start both DeJounte, Derek White, DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah.
You slide Jakob to the bench, and you insert Lonnie Walker, because that's what they're saying, right? They want to play fast. So actually, it's either Lonnie Walker or Keldon. I think Keldon should start.
Yeah.
There was a report out there. There's an article by somebody. I don't even remember where it was from, but it was like, should Lonnie be like the next X factor off the bench for the Spurs? Did y'all catch that one anywhere?
I saw that.
Yeah, so I haven't read
it. He's one of those guys. He's interesting because I feel like so many people I can get a read on where they'd play better the bench or starting, and it doesn't seem to make a difference to him. He plays well in either position, which is pretty valuable. You can plug and play.
I think overall, I think it'd be more effective him coming off the bench because he can kind of run the second unit. But we've been saying this. I haven't seen the article or anything, but we've been saying that he should run the second unit, right?
Yeah. There's just he's capable of being a starter, right? Like, but I think team fit. I mean, we're asking LaMarcus to change or like to, fit the need of the Spurs. I think that would be kind of a similar thing. It's like, Lonnie Walker, you're good enough, bro. Like, it's not that Keldon's better than you or anything like that. It's just, hey, you bring something to the bench that I don't think hardly any other bench units. Like, dude, bench units haven't been able to stay with Lonnie Walker since his rookie season. Like,
dude,
since the 2 games.
Call me crazy, but I still think Lonnie has the most potential of anyone on our team to be that kind of a star. Not saying he will, but I think he has the potential to be the concrete best player on this team one day.
He does.
I agree. Him or either Luke. I think Luka can be too, but Lonnie probably, yeah.
I think he could. Lonnie just has such like interesting skill sets. Luka's very raw and he can develop, but Lonnie has a lot of defined traits and stuff he's just learning how to use. I'm thinking, man.
And then he has all those things that you can't teach, right? Like the Houston game, like that's just a little glimpse, like a little grain of sand on the beach of what he probably could be. But all right, that's what we're going to call it here. Spurs Nation, thank you so much for hanging out with us. I'm Rob from Spurs Film Room. Thursday on my channel, I'm going to be doing a live breakdown of Luka Simonic's defensive play in the bubble against Utah, the very last game of the season. I know it was a throwaway game. Didn't really mean much. Played against maybe some second, third string guys. He played against Donovan Mitchell, played in that game a few times. So we'll talk about that. But anyways, that was really the only sample size that we've really seen of him in the NBA since I think the Brooklyn game back like in December or January. So just to be going over his progressions and how he's developed on the defensive side of the ball. So hang out with me on Thursday. Make sure you go check that out. Destin, what's going on?
Man, not much. On my channel. I'm just chilling. On my channel, I got your boy Lace Tunes hit me up with a verse. So that's going to be cool. On a Ginobili. It's a song called Like Ginobili. It's It's actually really good. I actually really like it. Then I got
Right.
my friend All Star. He's going to be on it as well. So that's going to be cool. I should have that out like sometime next week. But yeah, and then I'm working on something else with Difficult Icon. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he's pretty awesome. So yeah, got some stuff going on, but that's about it as far as my channel. Then I go live like randomly whenever. So yeah.
When you're rocking the sick like pullovers and the scarves. I don't know, bro. It's something about your swag, bro. It always makes it's so
Dapper
cozy all the
Clan,
time.
man.
Who called me? Yeah, you call me Dapper. I was
Yeah,
like,
I called you that. I did it on
Alright.
our OOC account, so it could be anonymous, but then I admitted to it.
yeah, I get somebody else called me Dapper, and I was like, dude, I never hear that. Like Dapper, like who uses that word?
Dude, I'm gonna take credit for that because now
Yeah.
because of me, I have people calling you Dapper Clan and Smug Clan.
Yeah, yeah. Harrison, tell everybody what's going on, man.
Yeah, so I've been watching a lot of college prospects lately with basketball starting back. As they probably mentioned last week, I was trying to do one podcast a week on like 5 or 6 players and then next up videos. It's too tough because it takes like 3 hours to edit each episode and like another 4 hours to record footage. So I'm trying to release a video on draft prospects like every 3 weeks, cover a few of them in there, get it all edited. Because quite frankly, I wasn't satisfied with the quality of the content I was putting out. So still going to have those, just a little few and far between. But yeah, other than that, just working on getting better quality stuff out. And I think we're at like 435 subscribers. So y'all get us to 500, man. Get us to 500 and then get us to 1,000 and much more. But we'll stick with 500 for now.
Yeah, we're growing. And guys, if you want to see all this stuff, like you want to see what I got going on, you want to see what Harrison's doing in the college world, you want to see, you know, what every few weeks Destin's dropping new fire. But if you ever want to see all that stuff, you just want to go to one place, go to OOCspurs.com. All right. Everything is there. We all have our own individual pages there. If you want to support us, go check out the shop. We're posting up designs there as well. And make sure to subscribe to our podcast because next week's a big week for us here at OOC. So make sure that you tune in. It's a brand new OOC Live. And it's just there's just so much going on. Right. So just stay tuned. Go to our website, bookmark it on your browser. Go Spurs go. Somebody's gonna sign us off.
Oh, there it is.
Get ready for this, guys. This little gavel bang marks the end of the first OOC era and on to the bigger and better era. So
There you go.
with all that said, thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week. Court's adjourned, baby.